In this story, a virus spreads which causes children to be born hybrid instead of normal humans. This sounds very strange, so let's start the story. In the beginning, there's a doctor just living a regular life. Then a virus spreads throughout the city, and no one knows why. Turns out the virus makes kids born as hybrids, half human, half animal. The doctor's wife gets infected, so he rushes her to the hospital. The whole city is in chaos. The doctor's worried and confused, not knowing what to do. A sweeper worried about his hybrid son Gus takes him to the forest. He's scared that some army guys, Khaled the last men, might harm Gus as they've been known to kill hybrid kids or take them for research. The sweeper raises Gus in the forest, never letting him out. One day a stranger arrives, but the sweeper chases him away, worried that someone might discover Gus. The stranger marks the place, though, suggesting someone lives there. Gus's father, suspicious that someone knows about Gus, hides him in a basement and leaves. Gus hears his father screaming, and when he finally sees him, his father falls and dies the next day from the virus. Now Gus is alone, but he's used to it. One day he finds a map and follows it to a tree with a heart carved into it. Digging around, he uncovers a buried box with a photo of a woman who looks like a scientist. Gus thinks of her as his mother. The picture Gus found had the name of a place on it, and he also discovered a pamphlet with the same name. Hybrid kids were supposedly hidden there secretly, but it turned out to be a trap set by the last men to capture hybrids. Gus decides to set the forests on fire, making smoke that helps the last men find him. Just as they're about to capture Gus, a guy named Tommy shows up and defeats the last men, saving Gus. Gus runs home and Tommy follows. They talk and Gus reveals he's searching for his mother. Tommy warns him not to leave, or the last men will get him. But Gus is determined and insists on following Tommy until he finds his mother. Next, we meet a female officer stuck in her office because of the spreading infection. When she finally gets out, she sees the city has changed. She stays at a zoo and eventually adopts a girl named Wendy of mixed heritage. Meanwhile, Gus and Tommy spend a night in the forest. In the morning, Tommy realizes Gus ate all their food and medicines, making him angry. Gus smells food in the distance, leading them to a mechanic's household with plenty of food. Gus explains his search for his mother and Tommy helps. Gus plays with the mechanic's son, and Tommy tells the mechanic he'll stay only for the night and leave when the weather is better. Gus enjoys the time there. The mechanic's wife notices a mark on Tommy's chest, the last men's mark, and asks him about it. Tommy claims he used to be a part of the last men, but left the job. Tommy suggests to the mechanic's wife that keeping Gus with them would be good for him. The mechanic's wife wants to check with her husband first. Meanwhile, Gus sees Tommy leaving just as the last men show up. The last men warn them, demanding the hybrid kids or threatening to harm everyone. When one of the last men is about to harm Gus, Tommy steps in and stops him. The mechanic tells Tommy that he can't risk his family's safety by keeping Gus. So, reluctantly, Tommy and Gus have to leave. The doctor gives a vaccine to his wife, and her infection comes under control. Her infection is different from others, it doesn't spread. However, the doctor notices the vaccine is running out, so he goes to another lady doctor for more. She hands him a book with records of the medications given to his wife. The lady doctor is terminally ill and won't be able to produce these medicines. She tells the doctor, "You have to do this task now." The doctor informs his wife that he'll have to make all medicines and vaccines for her himself. The book mentions something they can't do. They need the organs of hybrid kids for the medicine. Reluctantly, the doctor tries but can't bring himself to do it. One day, the doctor and his wife go to a party, despite the doctor's warning about her symptoms. At the party, they visit a narrator's house where the narrator is infected. They tie him up and set the house on fire. The narrator's wife suspects the doctor's wife. On the other side, Gus and Tommy settle into an old school bus for the night. Tommy tells Gus that he'll catch a train the next day to go to Gus's mother. The next day, Tommy changes Gus's appearance so the last men won't recognize him. They go to the station where last men members are also present. Tommy leaves Gus to get tickets and Gus accidentally wanders off. He meets a girl named Bear, who takes him along. Tommy returns, and as they're about to board the train, Gus smells medicines. Trying to steal them, they're caught by a guard who discovers Gus is a hybrid. Tommy hits the guard, but they are captured and taken somewhere. Meanwhile, an animal army, a group of kids led by Bear, rescues them. Bear and her friend form the army to save and protect hybrid kids. They believe humans have messed up the world, and it's now up to the hybrid kids to fix it. They were about to harm Tommy, but Gus intervenes. Bear finds it strange that Gus wants to save Tommy. Gus explains he's searching for his mother and Tommy is helping him. Bear offers to help find Gus's mother, but it has to be a secret. She reveals that Tommy used to be one of the last men who harmed hybrid kids. Before watching the video further, if you like our videos, then you can subscribe to this channel for such as amazing stories. In another part of the story, the narrator's wife visits the doctor's house and discovers the doctor's wife is infected. She decides to save others, but the doctor tries to stop her. In the chaos, the doctor's horse kicks the lady, leading to her death. After hiding the lady's body in the freezer, the scene shifts to the female officer and her daughter Wendy, who is a hybrid girl. They hear a voice and discover a hybrid boy, Wendy's friend. The female officer decides to keep him with them and works to protect all the hybrid kids. She uses a radio to avoid revealing her location, fearing the last men might find her. On the other side, the animal army considers harming Tommy, but Bear changes her mind and orders Tommy's release. This decision leads to a fight among Bear's team members. Gus takes advantage of the chaos, releases Tommy, and escapes. Bear also leaves her team. The general of the last men meets the lady doctor and asks about a book. She reveals she gave it to the doctor. Before leaving, the general ends the lady doctor. Tommy promises Gus to take him to his mother. They meet Bear on the way, and she provides Gus with his mother's address, written in a city's name. They proceed by train, but must first cross a valley where dead hybrid kids are buried. Meanwhile, the doctor searches for the narrator's wife, whose body is in the freezer. The doctor becomes worried, but his wife reassures him it's not their fault. They receive a call from the clinic about a delivery box that says, "Hybrid out of stock." The doctor's wife notices water coming from the freezer, and they find the narrator's wife's body with the door open. Someone has seen it and they run, but others arrive. The doctor lies about the narrator's wife being infected, but then the doctor's wife's finger starts vibrating, revealing her infection. They are tied up and the doctor tries to explain. The doctor insists that his wife's infection isn't viral, but they don't believe him. They lock the doctor and his wife inside and set the lab on fire. However, the general saves them and finds the book he was looking for. The doctor's wife tells the general that if he wants the treatment, he must free them. The doctor claims he has completed the lady doctor's research and found a cure for the virus. They lie to the general. Meanwhile, Wendy's friend finds a ribbon and the female officer realizes the last men have found them. After checking, they see many ribbons, indicating the last men have marked their location. Wendy suggests leaving the place and they decide to cross a bridge to reach the other side. However, arguments break out among Tommy, Bear, and Gus. Gus tries to cross alone, the bridge breaks, and Gus hangs. Tommy and Bear rescue him and they manage to reach the train. On the train, they find the last men's luggage, indicating they might be there. Gus searches for a toy his father gave him. While searching, they hear someone and hide. The man finds Gus, leading to a fight between Tommy and the man who turns out to be Tommy's friend from the football team. He informs them about Gus's mother's location. Bear warns them about the last men on the train, and they hide. The last men discover them, but Tommy's friend asks them to leave, promising to deal with the last men. Gus, Tommy, and Bear jump from the train and reach their destination. On the other side, the female officer guides the hybrid kids through a tunnel that opens into a church. She asks Wendy to wait for her there. The doctor is taken to a place where his wife is quarantined separately. The general promises the doctor everything he wants if he provides the medicines to remove the virus. Meanwhile, Gus arrives at his mother's house, but doesn't meet her. Instead, he meets her friend, who informs him that his mother has been searching for him for a long time but never returned. The friend gives Gus a key to the storeroom, where Bear finds a file with Gus's name on it. Genetic Unit Series 1. They realize Gus was made in a lab, the same one where the virus originated. Overwhelmed, Gus runs away. In a flashback, Gus's father, the sweeper, is shown working in the lab where the scientist also works. They become friends, and the scientist shares her project about a microbe she found in the city. The plan is to test it on an egg and create a vaccine. However, the lab gets occupied by the army and the scientist hides the project. The sweeper and the scientist go to the lab, where she shows him the successful creation of Gus using the microbe. The scientist asks the sweeper to take Gus away to protect him from the military. Gus, running from the truth, finds himself in a plane with its radio on. He sends a message to the general, who then surrounds the female officer's house, demanding the hybrid kids. The officer refuses to give in to the general's demand. Despite her efforts to stop him, the general enters the church where Wendy and everyone else is hiding. Wendy instructs everyone to stay inside the tunnel while her friend goes out to try and save him. The last men members arrive and capture them. When the officer returns, she finds that the last men have taken all the hybrid kids. Bear finds a cell phone and manages to repair it. Meanwhile, the scientist's friend arrives and Bear shares her story, revealing she was adopted after her parents died from an infection. Her hybrid sister was taken by the last men. Tommy tells Gus about his own experience. His son was a hybrid and both his wife and son disappeared when he left in panic. Gus informs Tommy that he has called the general and they hear gunshots. Tommy falls and the general's companions take Gus away. Gus is brought to the doctor, who discovers that Gus can speak. The doctor instructs his assistant to bring another hybrid kid, excluding Gus. Tommy is chosen, and when he wakes up, the officer asks for his help to save her kids. Meanwhile, Gus meets other kids his age, and Bear tries dialing a number on the repaired phone. The call connects, and the scientist, Gus's mother, answers. She's alive and in Alaska, searching for a cure for the virus. The story concludes with this revelation.